If you're ever looking for evidence that Pete Buttigieg is a bullshitter, let's go to case in point. Welcome to the soapbox. My name is Jamarl Thomas. This is the Progressive Soapbox. Guys, if you dig this content, please like, share, subscribe. You can always support PayPal or Patreon. This video will be quick. We will have contributor appreciation today at 3, but I wanted to get this, 4 p.m. But I wanted to get this out because this video, it didn't annoy me. I mean, I guess my feeling is this stuff needs to come out now. And this stuff needs to be challenged because Republicans will be doing things similar to this. So it's good that you work this out and build up your defenses for it in the primary. Because when you get into the general, all bets are off. You're going to have to be able to deal with it. Buttigieg. If you're looking for evidence that Pete Buttigieg is a bullshitter, let's start with evidence A. Buttigieg released an attack ad. Now, this attack ad is going against Sanders, and you can say in some respects Warren for their college debt relief program. Essentially, Sanders is saying we're going to eliminate college debt, and we're also going to make public institutions free. I agree with that. I don't think we should be punishing our kids to go to school. You have the wealthy and these billionaires and millionaires have been crying, oh God, they're trying to punish creativity. Why do you hate us in our industry and wealth creation, et cetera, et cetera? Wouldn't the same thing be true, however? Meaning, if you're complaining that taxes is a drag on industry, drag on jobs and all this other stuff, wouldn't the same thing be true for innovation that is brought from people being able to go to school and live whatever they want to live? Meaning, the debt that we put on the back of students is a disincentive for those kids to go to school. And even if they're able to get out of school with those loans, for the most part, you have over $1 trillion of debt that is just sitting on your particular country, all because of the way we do our education system. And yeah, if you're looking for a way to rip the chains of creativity off, one of the ways I would tell you is if your kids can go to school, you have a larger distribution of kids going to school, a larger distribution of kids that are going to make something of themselves and do some awesome fucking things. The way we do our schools here are insane. So Sanders says, we're going to eliminate that. That's a horrible way to go. We're not going to put that on their backs. And we're also going to make public institutions free for anybody that wants to go to school. Buttigieg comes out with this. This is his ad. He's lying in this ad. And the lie is even caught in the ad itself, if that makes sense. Meaning he says one thing, and then there's print at the bottom that contests the thing that he says. I'll explain what I mean. Take a look at this. This is the attack ad he's releasing.
I believe we should move to make college affordable for everybody. There are some voices saying, well, that doesn't count unless you go even further, unless it's free even for the kids and millionaires. But I only want to make promises that we can keep.
Let's keep going.
Look, what I'm proposing is plenty bold. I mean, these are big ideas.
Right here. Let's stop here. Now, if you notice, he said some people want to go too far. They want to go far. But I don't want to make college free for millionaires. That's what Pete said. Even for the college of millionaires. All right. So Pete doesn't want to pay for millionaires. That's what he's saying. But look here. Right here. What is this? Free public college for 80% of students. But 20% distribution then, just based on this, is not going to be covered. That means that 20% will still have to take out loans because that 20% is roughly $120,000. $120,000 for a family is not balling. And beyond not balling, $120,000 is not, by definition, considered millionaires. Pete Buttigieg is saying one thing, but the print is showing something else. Meaning his plan for somebody who's making, let's say, $150,000, a family that's making $155,000. If you were living in San Francisco, if you were living in California, if you were living in Washington, D.C., if you were living in New York, that money is not going to go far. And even if you weren't living in those places, that, by definition, is not millionaires. He's being dishonest. He's being disingenuous on his face. He doesn't want to say $150,000, so he wants to say millionaires because he wants this faux populism of people saying, yeah, I don't want my kid, fuck those millionaires. He's not talking about millionaires in his plan. He's saying something, and he's giving you the fine print at the bottom. Now, you can hide in this technical thing of, well, nobody asked him about the 150,000. I mean, but the millionaires are included in this list, in this distribution. The communications director for Pete goes further and doubles down. Buttigieg wants to make college affordable for Americans who can afford it, who can't afford it. He won't ask Americans who don't go to college to subsidize it for children of millionaires and billionaires. Again, this faux populism of fuck the rich. But again, it is not millionaires and billionaires that are included in this particular plan. This goes all the way down. This means testing of 100, let's say 50,000 is the highest number that I've heard. Those people will have to take out loans. The majority of those people take out loans anyway, meaning they can't afford to live and pay their college tuition in the way Pete Buttigieg is kind of implying that it's taking place. But he's calling these $150,000 people millionaires. It's disingenuous and dishonest on its face. It's just political language in order to confuse the American public. Yeah, so if you wanted to think, or if you wanted evidence that Pete Buttigieg is a bullshitter, start here. The next point, 150,000 is not balling. And ultimately, you've created a situation where a family may be making that, still struggling because they have to pay rent, they have to pay for car note, they have to pay all this other stuff. And they pay their taxes. And they're subsidizing another group. Meaning they're close to this other group, and yet they can't partake of something that they pay their taxes for. You're creating a program that is creating hostility between classes, just on its face. And it's within almost the same class, because you're talking about just middle class or upper middle class and lower middle class. That hostility will erode that program. Now, whether Pete Buttigieg knows this, or whether Pete Buttigieg is just kind of coming up with a plan just in order to try to create a lane for himself, what I've just said is true. The program itself has a contradiction in the way that the program is being built, and the means testing will end up eroding that particular program. One, dishonest. Two, 150,000 is not balling. You're creating a means test that's going to exclude people who will actually need that program and who are paying taxes for a program that they need and can't access. On the third point, the rich will always be a small distribution. Meaning, if you're a millionaire, billionaire, your kid is not leaving with debt under normal circumstances. They can pay their way. 1% of the population, and you're pretending as if that 1% of the population is going to be a large distribution of taking advantage of this process. A, it would never be a large distribution of people taking advantage just by definition. And two, millionaires and billionaires can pay for their kids, and often will pay for their kids. The people who are going to be taking advantage of this are the people who actually need it. Middle class and poor. And again, 120,000 is not rich. And they're certainly not millionaires by definition. The only way to ensure that everybody who needs the program gets the program is to make it across the board. There's something to be said for saying, yes, free public college and institutions, everyone is welcome. This argument that Buttigieg is making, does he believe that people should pay for libraries, that the rich should pay for libraries? What about the rich paying for public parks? I mean, they contribute to the society. They pay their taxes. Why shouldn't they be able to partake of things that everyone else partakes of, especially when it's public and it's open, and they're just as much part of the public as anybody else? It is a weird argument to me to say the rich should pay when they go to the public library, the rich should pay when they go to public school, or that they shouldn't be able to get Social Security or Medicare. Everybody has skin in the game. Everyone has contributed. Across the board. Free public colleges would be no different than free public schools. And if you're going to make an argument against the free public college thing, that argument still also applies to public schools. I mean, in fact, that argument is an argument to erode all sorts of public systems. This is supposedly a Democrat. And last point, this is phony populism. Like, this is a fuck the rich. But in reality, it's not really doing that, right? I mean, ultimately, you're talking about a means-tested program going all the way down to like $100,000 or $120,000. Those people will still end up needing loans, meaning you haven't solved the problem. In fact, you've created a system that would essentially just whittle itself away just based on the hostilities that you've created within the problem, as opposed to actually solving it across the board. This is phony populism. And then he's not even being honest in the context of that phony populism. He's pitting one class against the other. And it's the same goddamn class, meaning the middle class in the sense. One section of the middle class against another section of the middle class. This is not going after the millionaires and billionaires. In fact, it's somewhat of the opposite. Pete Buttigieg has a ton of billionaires backing him in this political campaign. And I make the argument that he is gay Obama. And I always have to say, I don't say that it's a smear. I say that because he is literally gay, and he has a poise in the way that he conducts himself as Obama. He's an empty, vacant suit. He's an empty palette. You can put pretty much anything on him. I would tell you this, in the same way that Citigroup chose Obama's bench, and based on that alone, you could tell what was going to take place, meaning people are policy. Those billionaires that are putting their money in Pete Buttigieg are not doing so for no reason. Not to mention this picture. It's terrifying because that means that Zuckerberg will have a seat at the table in a Buttigieg administration. Buttigieg is bullshitting you. Buttigieg is bullshitting you. I'll leave it here. I don't just want to be long. This ad, though, it's people were going after the ad, but it's dishonest on its face. This is not millionaires and billionaires. This is just the middle class. And ultimately, he's excluding a segment of the middle class out of something that they, as they pay their taxes, should be included into. They are part of the public also. We have public schools. We have public schools for a reason. And at the moment that you have an argument for public schools, that same argument applies to public college, especially when the skills that are necessary for this particular generation have gone up. Meaning your behavior needs to change based on your environment. And whereas high school education might have been sufficient for the public at one point, it is no longer so. And if the public, elements of the public, want to go to school to better themselves, that only betters us as a nation. I don't understand the argument against doing so. If Buttigieg is against public schools, he needs to say so. If he's against public parks, he needs to say so. If he's against the rich getting Social Security and Medicare, he needs to say so. Otherwise, this argument is essentially an erosion of those public institutions. I have no issue with the rich partaking in going to public schools. I have no issue with them getting Social Security. They pay into the system just like we do. They should be able to get the benefits also. Like, share, subscribe. Thanks all.